The icy wind howled through the broken seams of the old diner window, rattling the glass like a warning. The coffee inside was lukewarm, the crowd thin, and the air thick with exhaustion. At a corner booth, hunched over a chipped mug, sat Ethan Walker, a single father, out of work, out of luck, and dangerously close to being out of hope. He stared blankly at the job rejection email on his cracked phone screen. It was the third one this week. Once a respected mechanic, now a part-time dishwasher and full-time worrier, Ethan had been doing everything he could to keep his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, warm, fed, and unaware of how close they were to losing their apartment. His calloused fingers rubbed his temples. The only thing heavier than the snow outside was the guilt crushing his chest. "Daddy, is Santa still coming this year?" Lily had asked him that morning, her eyes bright, hopeful. He had nodded, lying through his teeth. "Of course, sweetheart." Now, as Ethan pocketed his phone, a violent coughing fit broke the diner's silence. He looked up. At the far end of the room, near the door, sat a young woman, wrapped in a thin coat far too light for the blizzard outside. Her face was pale, her lips trembling, and her cough, wet and sharp, sounded like it belonged in a hospital, not a diner. The waitress brought her a cup of hot water. "No tea bag. No lemon. Just water." "Sorry," the woman whispered hoarsely, "it's all I can afford." Ethan watched her try to warm her frozen hands against the cup, her fingers red and raw. Something about her hit him deep. Maybe it was the way she curled into herself to stay warm, or maybe it was that she looked so completely alone. He glanced at the few crumpled bills in his wallet. $8.75. Enough for a bus ride and maybe a loaf of bread. Not enough to solve his own problems, let alone someone else's. But then he thought of Lily. And what he hoped someone would do for her if she were ever cold and sick and alone. Without another thought, Ethan stood, walked out into the storm, and made his way to the pharmacy down the block. By the time he came back, snow covered his shoulders and his cheeks burned red from the cold. In his hands was a small paper bag with cough syrup, cold medicine, and a packet of vitamin C lozenges. He set it on the woman's table without a word. She blinked in surprise. What is this?" "Cold medicine," Ethan said simply. "You need it more than I do." Her lips parted in disbelief. "Why? You don't even know me." "Don't have to." He smiled gently and turned to leave. "Wait, what's your name?" "Ethan," he called over his shoulder. "Stay warm." She stared after him long after he was gone, her eyes welling. That night, the woman, Samantha Blake, billionaire heiress and CEO of a Fortune 500 tech company, lay in her penthouse suite, holding the now empty medicine bottle in her hand. Her security team had found her minutes after Ethan left, scolding her for disappearing without notice. She had simply wanted to escape her world of cold boardrooms and fake smiles. She wanted to remember what real people lived like. She hadn't expected to nearly freeze in the process. And she certainly hadn't expected kindness, from someone who clearly had so little to give. A week later, Ethan was walking Lily home from school, their hands clasped tightly. "Daddy," Lily said, "are we poor?" Ethan stopped walking. "Why would you ask that?" "Because my coat has holes and I heard my teacher say I looked hungry." Ethan swallowed the lump in his throat. "We're just, in a tough spot right now, honey. But I promise, we'll be okay." Just then, a sleek black car pulled up beside them. The back window rolled down. "Ethan Walker?" the driver asked. He froze. "Yes. My employer would like a word. She's waiting at the cafe on Oak Street. If you're willing." Ethan hesitated, glancing down at Lily. "Can she come?" "She's welcome too." At the cafe, Samantha stood up as soon as she saw him, dressed not in designer heels and a suit, but in a simple sweater and jeans. She smiled with a warmth that thawed the chill in Ethan's bones. "You came," she said. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. You sent a car. Lily climbed onto the chair beside him and peered curiously at Samantha. This is Lily, she asked. Ethan nodded. She looks just like you. Beautiful eyes. Thank you, Ethan replied, still unsure why he was here. I wanted to thank you. For what you did, Samantha said softly. You didn't know who I was. You didn't ask for anything. You just helped. Ethan shrugged. Didn't seem right to walk away. I've thought about you every day since, she admitted. I have more money than I know what to do with. People do things for me because they want something. But you gave when you had nothing to gain. Ethan shifted in his seat, uncomfortable with praise. That kind of kindness, Samantha continued, is rare. And I think the world needs more of it. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. I want to offer you a job. It's with my foundation. We help struggling families get back on their feet. You'd be managing a new community garage program. We'll train young people in trade skills and pay them while they learn. You'd be perfect to run it. Ethan blinked. You're serious? Very, she said. With full benefits, health insurance for you and Lily, and a salary that'll make sure you never have to choose between medicine or dinner again. Tears filled Ethan's eyes, but he blinked them away quickly. Lily looked between them. Daddy, are you crying? He laughed. No, sweetie. Just surprised. Over the next several months, Ethan's life transformed. He went from patching together part-time jobs to building a future, not just for himself, but for dozens of other struggling families. His confidence grew. So did his friendship with Samantha. They met often, sometimes to discuss the program, other times just to talk. They discovered a shared love for old music, strong coffee, and cheesy holiday movies. Samantha found herself laughing more. And Ethan, for the first time in years, found peace. One evening, as they walked through the newly built training center, Samantha paused by a window overlooking the city. You know, she said, I used to think success was about numbers. How much I earned. How many awards I had. But now. She turned to him. Now I know it's about how much you give. Ethan smiled. You've given a lot. She stepped closer. So have you. There was a long silence. A shared heartbeat. Ethan, she said gently, what if we tried being more than just friends? He didn't speak right away, afraid it was a dream. But when he looked into her eyes, he saw no pretense. No pity. Just honesty. I'd like that, he whispered. 2 years later, the training center was flourishing, Lily was thriving in school, and Ethan and Samantha were planning a wedding, small, heartfelt, surrounded by the people they had helped along the way. At the reception, a guest asked Samantha, what made you fall in love with a man who had nothing? She smiled and replied, he had everything that mattered.